Timberwolves became internet fame, I'd say, if you want to call it that, or internet famous, infamous. I'm not going to say laughing stocks. I think JJ Redick put it best. The city of Minneapolis itself has been through a lot. These players have been through a lot. What I did not realize, Karl-Anthony Towns, the anniversary of losing his mom, I think was either this week or the night of that game. Somebody tweeted that. I did not check to make sure that was correct. But even if it was in the vicinity of this game, that's a lot as well. And I don't think people understand that. I lost my father a couple years ago, and it never really goes away. You know, as June gets closer, and July comes around, I just have those memories. You know, I have the memories of what happened that day, the day I found out that I lost my dad. And so it was tough for me. It's still tough. And so if Cat was battling that, I pray that mentally he's okay. I pray that he gets whatever support, which I'm guessing one of the main reasons maybe his wife was on the court. She knew what he was going through. Men are often treated like commodities when it comes to sports and warriors, and they're not thought of as human beings that have other issues outside of the sport you're watching and you want to report on. So there's so much more to this. For Karl-Anthony Towns to go down the way he did and not be able to finish the game out because of fouls, I think that was a huge downer to start. I think a lot of people assumed the way the score was going with Karl-Anthony Towns out that they were just preparing to go play the Pelicans. I think that's what, or the Spurs, but we know it's the Pelicans now. So I think a lot of people had all of that in their mind on that bench. And so to overcome it the way they did, for D'Angelo Russell to get hot the way he did, for Pat Beverly to kind of, do the things he did, defensive plays, getting in guys' heads. Paul George went off. But Ann Edwards and D'Angelo Russell with 30 and 29, they were able to keep it together. And so people were saying they treated this like a Super Bowl win, or they treated this like they won the first game in an elimination game of the Final Four or something, or the Sweet 16. I watched the Final Four, and I watched the play-in games for that, the bubble games, or the first four in, if they want to call it, or the last four in. Those guys celebrate too when they make it to the tournament. When they beat, the 6 in this, or whatever, the 11th seed, they're fighting for the 11th seed. Those guys win. They're excited. They're excited to move on to the next. When guys make it to the Sweet 16, they're excited to make it to the next. And I think even myself, I sat up that night as well, and I was kind of laughing with everybody else. But then I had to think, like, why? Like, it's okay to celebrate the way they did. I think that when you think about everything these guys have been through, the heart, the sweat, the tears, the blood, it's a huge moment. When guys win playoff games in football to go to the next round, they run around and celebrate and run into the locker room and talk about what's up next. Maybe not Tom Brady, because when Tom Brady wins Super Bowls now after winning 7, it becomes second nature to him. Other guys that win Super Bowls, they're splashing champagne, everything. Tom Brady's packing up and getting ready to go drink some tequila, some avocado tequila.
Yes.
But when you really think about what we just witnessed a bunch of young guys excited about where they are. I mean, you go from 23 wins to 46. I haven't looked that up or gone into to the historical annals of sports history, but that's got to be one of the biggest one-year turnarounds for a team to double their win total and then make it to the playoffs. I mean, 23 wins, and then people were like, oh, I think they can get 40, or maybe they'll get 35. They got 46 wins, now 47, because they're not counting the play-in as playoffs. They're counting. I don't know what they're counting it as. I don't know if they're going to count it as regular season. They're going to count it as an asterisk, but it's not playoffs. But they won 46 games, now 47, to become the 7th seed. That's a huge accomplishment. So I'm with them on the celebration. I see nothing wrong with it. Just don't get burned out. I like the fact that D'Angelo Russell said, we're not excited about this. We were supposed to be here. We're supposed to be in the playoffs. I think that's coming back down to earth. The question is posed, who's going to bring this team back down to earth? I think they did it themselves. Pat Beverly's still out there having fun. He's an old dog. When he's healthy, every team he's been on has made the playoffs. So he's just doing what Pat Beverly does, which is get on people's nerves. When you think that think of D'Angelo Russell. He's ready for the playoffs now. He knows, like, look, I can go. I know I can go. I've been a superstar. Now I have two other guys that if I know they're not going, they can trust me. And they also can say, hey, we don't have to force. Like, Cat didn't have to force threes. I think that was the issue. Cat was forcing a lot of those threes because he wants to be called the greatest shooter, big man ever in history. But in my opinion, I'm with it. I think they were fine. Sam, what are your thoughts?
I mean, isn't the celebration ultimately a salute to the fans that were there? Because they're not celebrating like that in LA. They're not jumping on the Clippers scores table. They're probably not, hugging A-Rod at center court in the Clippers arena. That was a salute to the fans that showed up all year. They bought into this team as the year went along, and they absolutely emptied the clip on Tuesday night. They were raucous. They gave that team energy, and they were feeding into that celebration. And Pat Beverly's jumping on the scores table. That's a direct salute to Kevin Garnett 18 years earlier. He's not doing that on the road. He's doing that because he's in front of the fans that adored him and adored this team. And those fans have been through turmoil for 2 decades. They've had one playoff team in 18 years, and it wasn't even that good. It was an 8 seed. And it had Jimmy Butler, who ended up sort of betraying the team. So they really haven't had a team to grasp onto like this in almost 2 decades. So your celebration is sort of feeding off of what the fans gave you. And they gave you a lot. If no one showed up to that game, if they were sitting on their hands, there would not have been as much cause to celebrate. So that, I think there was an equal reaction to what the fans gave them in that game. I would have been worried if that celebration took place on Friday. Like, if they had lost and had to play Friday, then celebrate like that, then travel to Phoenix, and then play 2 days later, that would have been hard, I think, emotionally to come back from. But they've got 5 days. From Tuesday to Saturday, they get to get ready for Memphis. I don't think that if they take a day to celebrate and then refocus for 4 days and then play the Grizzlies, I mean, any team, young or old, should be okay with that kind of turnaround.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be the key is they're a young team, but the good thing is they're playing another young team. When you look at the inexperience of the Grizzlies, you look at Ja Morant not playing the entire season due to injury or soreness, whatever you want to call it, but injury.
The second half of the year. I think he played early on, I think.
Yeah, he did. He played 57 games.
Yeah.
But when you look at Ja Morant being out and the team doing well with him out, chemistry is huge, especially in the playoffs, and your mind can get thrown off. Like, if you mentally are not where you think you should be, that's the good thing about the Timberwolves. They had to come back twice in this game, and so they know they can do it with or without Cat, with Cat hopefully,